is their, situation or scenario. So in that context, the government has formed the committee,
Mm,
and the discussion point has come into a legislative assembly, and they want some, before they take any action, they want some point or insights.
mm-hmm.
So just want to understand like how we as a team or as a advocacy network can help these people, because I've been also in contact with their research team.
Yeah,
uh, I mean, how we can bring more discussion or how we can strategize to get the actual point in the discussion before they put the report in front of the legislative assembly. So just
definitely.
I wanted to highlight and see how we can support them as well.
That sounds great. And just to clarify, we're talking about young people who've grown, who are now adults, who are in care still.
Yes, yes.
And they don't, whether they've lost parents or they haven't lost parents. Yeah.
If you remember, for Florence, during lockdown, since lockdown, we started doing this campaign and advocacy to raise the awareness and share the problems about the care leaver, and especially care leaver without parent, I mean family support. So we done this campaign, and the Maharashtra state government is the first state in India who enacted the 1% reservation policy for orphan, and that is ongoing. But apart from that, there are some legislative assembly member, they are also very sensitive about this issue, and they are also want to do something, but they don't have any factual information or any
Mm,
uh, authentic information. So for that they have set up this. So in that context, I wanted to see how we can also support them or create a kind of
definitely.
lobby to support these people. Yeah.
Do you have something you can send me? Like even if it's just a couple of paragraphs to
Yeah, I have
explain.
actually written in Marathi. That's a
Yeah.
local language, because
Okay.
mostly in the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly they read the Marathi, and even now I also activated the media people. So
Okay.
they have also started the writing a series of issues of care levers, but that is in Marathi newspaper.
That's great. I'm glad this is
Yeah,
happening. Well, let's talk about it. Right now, colleagues, welcome Nabs,
yeah, yeah.
welcome Eric as well. We are missing a few members, quite a few members. And I'm wondering whether I can ask you to chase those members or to ring them or to see where they are, because quite a few other people have registered and we're planning to be here today. And as this is the last meeting for this phase, it's really important to have them, because we need to, as you know, we need to actually get on to the finalization of these terms of reference so we can move on to the next phase of the council. We're
Let
missing
me just.
Michael, we're missing Bruce, we're missing, who are we missing?
Try to reach Sam on call, but I'm not receiving any positive response.
Hmm. We're missing Elvis, we're missing Gift. Just going to check. Who else registered? Neelam. Aditya, could you reach out to Neelam?
I think they just joined the WhatsApp call, so maybe.
Samora. Mai. Elvis.
Yeah, I just checked with Neelam. She's joining in next 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Fabulous. Thank you. What about Mai?
And there is one more person, I don't know the name.
Yes, hi Elvis.
Uh, Grace, do you know this number? 237675. 23767528.
Hi everyone. Hi Florence.
Hi, Nilam. How are you doing?
Nilam.
Okay, how are you?
Thank you for joining. Hi, Mai. All right.
Hi, Florence. I'm
Hey,
here.
thank you. So we're missing still a couple more people. Elvis, I don't know whether Ruth, I know she hasn't been feeling well, so I'm not sure whether she's joining. Just text her. But we're going to start because we've got a packed agenda.
Can anyone try with Ruth? Because I tried, it's showing unavailable.
Yeah, I'm just
I'm trying
yeah.
to dial her directly, but I haven't received any response.
And where's Michael?
Yeah, Michael also.
Okay, we're 10 minutes into it. What do you think? Shall we start? We're hoping that others are going to be joining.
Sure. I think you should get started, Florence.
Yeah. Do you want to start us, Grace?
Sure.
Or do you want me to start? You let me know.
Okay, maybe just do an overview, and then you can pick it up.
Okay, let me
Ah.
share my screen then. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So as Florence is sharing the screen, hi everyone, I hope you're all good. So I don't know if we spend a couple of minutes just doing a round checkup of how everyone is feeling today, and then we'll get started
Great
with
idea.
our meeting. So Deborah, it's been a while since you've been with us. Would you like to share how you're feeling today?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm well today. And I'm glad to be here as well. And I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion. I wasn't able to join for the past, I think, 4 or 5 months, 6, because I was kind of engaged with a lot of activities. So I think now I'm settling in here. So yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Okay. Thank you. Eric, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Mhm.
I'm also happy to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy to see everybody. Though many are yet to join, but I'm looking forward to this meeting and to contribute to the final document of TRI. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you to Eric. Nabs, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Just happy to be here. I'm trying to see what we can do today. But as you and I talk on the phone, I just
Yeah.
Florence texted you that I'll be leaving at 10 a.m. I have a board meeting to do a budget for our annual budget presentation. So I'll stay here until for 1 hour and then I'll leave to attend the meeting at 10. I'm looking forward to what we have to talk about today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nabs. Mai, how are you?
Hi, Grace. Thank you for asking. I'm doing good. Yeah, doing good, trying to finish work and go on a holidays. like I'm already in a holiday spirit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Nilam.
Hi, Grace. I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. Just finished with office work and now waiting to have dinner. Ordered
Yeah.
some nice cakes for myself and my brother. So we'll enjoy that. And looking forward to today's conversation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What about Elvis? Elvis, how are you?
Yeah, Grace and the members of the team, I'm doing quite well. Doing quite good. Finding Cameroon in the southwest region of the country. Updates about me, of course, is work. It's back to child protection, and additionally, like I shared with you for last time, working also with women, working with people of concern. And there's a little plus that occurred last month. I had a second son. So I'm now a father of 2 boys.
Great. Congrats. Congrats to you, Elvis.
Thank you.
And lastly, Aditya.
Oh, hi. Thank you, Grace, for remembering me. I'm so happy and excited to, get finished of our work by this, by this end of year. So I'm excited to hear from all of you and see the something new in next year. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So allow me not to go through asking also our interpreters in Florence. From my end, I'm also good. Excited for today's meeting. I'm understanding this is our last meeting as a council. Ever since we got started, and so we wanted to do the final touches. And at least as we end this year and as we end this phase of the council, we will have something to present to the new council members who will be coming forward. So today we ought to have an agenda whereby we'll be aiming at finalizing our TOR. And on this, Florence will help us around with just to ensure that it goes with a good flow. And then we'll go through the recruitment phase of members, how that will look like in the next phase. As we understand, as of today, majority of us will be stepping out based on the criteria that we set out, and then we'll need to recruit new members. So we can also discuss that. Then we have a plan for recruiting the new members, and lastly, discuss some logistics. So this is the agenda for today, and within the next few hours, I hope we'll be able to have come with something substantive. So I'll hand it over to Florence to take us through the first item on the agenda on the TOR.
Thank you, Grace. So let me actually, first of all, going to share with you, we shared with you the new version of the terms of reference. I'll show it in the screen in a minute, which is version 5. So this is the version that is the revised version that went through different phases, including the last phase where members worked in small groups, added language. And remember from our last meeting, one of the decision was let's clean up the document. Let's identify what are the areas where there's still questions or there are still language that's not, there's still language that's not aligned or there's things that are missing. So with Grace and the coordinators of this group went through that document and try to clean it up, try to clean up the style. I'm going to share that now because that's going to be more helpful. Marco, can you put the link as well to that Google in the
chat? Yeah.
In the chat, please,
No
for
problem.
the members. I'm going to share it on my screen now, but just
Hopefully
you will all have had an opportunity to go through it as requested. But I'll share this with you now. Here we go. This is version 5 of this terms of reference. It's almost done, thanks to all the work that you've done. There are really a couple of things. One, there's, and a few of you have made comments, which is great. Broadly speaking, there are some sections of the terms of reference which have already been agreed. So any changes there are primarily language only, just to make, for example, in this case, just the way that international bodies are referred to. So these are not substantive changes. They're just editing the document so that it reads well. But of course, anything to do with our vision, mission, objectives of the council, most of the key objectives and so on were agreed. There was some question. Grace pointed out, for example, that there were two points on there that were very similar. So I tried to propose some revision that brings those two paragraphs together. Again, a lot of this is editing rather than adding substance, but I would recommend, if you haven't done so already, to go through them. I don't propose to do that in this meeting just because we won't have time, because there are areas where there is more need for us to discuss, where there's still gaps or discussion. But mostly in relation to the objectives, it's about streamlining. And I see Aditya has made some comment. For example, I had a question around, do we use here living care, or do we talk about the whole transition from care? So not just the actual fact of living. This is about also the terminology we use. Aditya suggests, can we say transitioning or better transitioning? These are suggestions. We just need to clean up the document. So it's not a big deal, but I would appreciate if you go through and make sure that we're all in agreement with those final changes. Another question that I had as we were finalizing this is, we're looking at, for example, on the B, advocate for a global budget dedicated to the protection and housing of care leavers. And I was just asking whether housing is just too narrow, or whether it should be also living condition, economic empowerment. Grace responded saying, should we call it social protection? So we need to just finalize this language, just to be clear. It's not a big deal, but it's to make sure that this reflects, what we feel the members should be doing. Similarly, these were the two paragraphs that were saying pretty much the same thing. So I've tried to kind of propose a way of bringing them together. I've done this in track changes, so you can see the changes. We need to finalize this, so have a look at it, make sure you're okay with it, and then we can just clean that up. I did have some questions of clarification going through it for a final time. So for example, here on the monitoring and research, which should generate research, knowledge and data system to inform evidence-based care reform policies and programs. And my question was, do you want this more broadly, or should it be particularly related to the situation, action, solution of care experience actors? Or do you want to just keep that as broad as possible? So care reform more broadly. That's just a question for clarification. So as far as this, all of this above, I think the question is just cleaning up the language and clarifying anything that still needs to be. But I think we've got broad agreement, and it's been approved pretty much since Nairobi. Aditya, if I don't see your hand, please let me know, because when I'm on the screen, I don't always see it. Aditya.
Yeah, I also during our discussion, me and Grace was discussing. So there are things we need to also make the sequence that will really help the audience or other care leader members to understand the flow of the document.
What does that mean, Aditya? Explain this a little bit more.
Grace, can you please come into this and explain what we discussed that day?
Yeah, it was mostly in terms of some of the objectives, let's say under the objective of advocacy and influence. It's just about the what do I call it? The sequence. So in terms of which objective or which activity has more weight, so we put them in terms of how it flows, in terms of the services to caregivers or extending it to other networked, so to the people we actually work with closely. So it's just a matter of rearranging the sequence, but we did not do a lot of, changes. It's just moving around the points to have a good flow.
So it's the order. Is that what you mean? The
Yes,
order, like for
yes,
this.
the
Okay,
order,
great.
for sure.
So I think it'd be great if you can recommend orders. It can be done after this meeting, and I can move them, or you
Yeah,
can
no,
move them
I
directly.
requested Grace that day if we start how we can start the objective to by identifying the support system to the existing from the existing CCI, like kind of start from the pre-aftercare, then transitioning, then during aftercare or post-aftercare, and then follow up like that sequence. If we maintain, then it will also get the sense while reading the document.
So can I just be clear, Aditya, because this language is already finalized. This is the result of the work that's been going on for the whole year.
No, I
So
was
I
just
think,
saying
yeah.
that if we can just make the sequence within this, then it will get more sense. Yeah.
Okay. So if you can, after this meeting, make some proposal, then
I think we already
reorganize.
Grace, that day, I think we
Yeah,
already done
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah, he's already done that. It's already done.
Oh, it's already done. So it's already in the right
Yeah.
order.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Perfect. Okay, excellent. So if there's anything in terms of language there that, again, these are mostly language edits or order edits. It's important, but we're pretty much done. So it'd be good to have any of those final changes approved and agreed. But I think substantively, this is all agreed. In terms of the objectives. If there are, for example, like where I ask a suggestion, if you feel that it's clear enough, it doesn't need to be more specific, that's absolutely fine. Just respond and say, let's keep it broad, or whatever, so we can finalize and clean up all of this section, yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Apologies if I don't see you. Put your hand up, just to come in. So this is about vision, mission, objectives were done. Composition and structure of the council. Now, what I did there has been to bring together the work that you've all done in this small group, particularly the around this, including the work that NADS has done. As you remember, NADS did proposed some really important language. So in addition to clarifying the formatting for the whole documents, I went through and identified where there were proposals around the composition and structure that were similar, or there were some differences or some. So this is the language that's combining all of the different suggestions and comments that were made both in Nairobi, after Nairobi, and by the small groups. There's still, I think there's a lot of clarity, but there's still a few areas where having more clarity would be helpful. So mostly, for example, in terms of number, members, representation, mostly that was all agreed in Nairobi and reaffirmed afterwards. There was the proposal for members to serve a term of 2 years. The language, there was a language there on rotation, and I wasn't entirely sure what rotation meant. So I changed the language a little bit to talk about appointed at 1 year interval. And the idea is that some of the current members, some of you are going to continue on the council, some new members are going to come in as some members move out. And the idea that we discussed in Nairobi is having the recruitment of members that's kind of done in intervals, so that at any time in point, there are members that are already experienced on sitting on the council, and there are new members coming in, and that's to enable the council to have to benefit from the experience of those who've already done the work on the council for a year, and then at the same time to have new members. So the language on rotation that was suggested, I changed slightly to say that they would be appointed at 1 year interval. But let me know what you think. Is that what you meant by rotation?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah,
I
sure,
think so. Does that, I think, remember during the Nairobi thing, people mentioned rotation, I think, a couple of times. One of them was, a member should not be from the same country, like, from the same region, like West Africa. If NABS was there, like this year, I'm still on the council. Next time we're getting someone from West Africa, will not be from Sierra Leone, it has to be from some other country in West Africa, something like that. And that was another area of rotation somebody mentioned. I don't know. I tried to, again, some of these things were just very broad because that was not really specific. I was telling Grace yesterday when we spoke. So that was another area of rotation I was mentioned. I don't know whether it's in here somewhere.
Yeah, it's right here. If you look at F.
Yeah, good.
It's right here. Yeah. The one thing I did ask is, so I used your language, NABS, on that. It's all here. But I did ask, what if the representative of the regional network comes from a country that is already represented on the council? So, that could happen, that you have somebody who is representing of a country, but who also is identified as the representative of a regional network, if there is a regional network. Whether that would be a case where an exception might be made. I don't know. It was just a question.
Yeah.
Because in some cases you'll have a representative of a regional network who happens to be from one of the country that may have been sitting. So you might not want to exclude them necessarily just because they're from the same country, because they might be also the representative of the region. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, because we're getting started, it's not our ideal situation. It may not be our ideal situation, but that is what we hope to, for it to be in future. So as of now, it might not be the ideal. It may not work it out, but in future, that is what we suggest, so that to ensure there is a good representation from all countries, all regions. So that is what I think it will be that way. Yeah,
that's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point, Grace. It's a great point, and it's true. The terms of reference needs to set what the ideal is, and recognizing that the process of transitioning is still happening. So that's a very good point. Okay. So as far as numbers and member representation, this is reflecting what has been discussed. The only thing that I've added there as a suggestion is that to clarify that revision to the number of members can be made by decision of the council to support its mission based on criteria for membership and availability of funding. So just it's a suggestion, it doesn't have to be there, but just as these terms of reference are for the future, just to clarify that the numbers as we've given them, the 16, doesn't have to be set in stone, that it can be changed, by decision of the council based on, for example, the need for broader representation, assuming that there is also funding to enable that. So I don't know whether you feel that makes sense.
I mean, it makes perfect sense, because that's one of the reasons why a council like they really have to get the time to be meeting, like annual meeting once. When they meet, that's time for them to review this whole document again, go over, is there anything that is standing in the way of us really accomplishing our mission? Oh yeah, the number is one, the number is too large, the number is too small, or this policy, we need to change this. So it always has to keep changing, but they have to agree on when would that happen, to review the whole thing and go over line by line, subject by, section by section, to see whether this is still reflective of what the council stands for, or something is getting in the way or not, something like that. So I think it makes perfect sense, but that's not ever written in stone.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, excellent. If there's no disagreement, we keep this. The only other changes that I suggested, which is not just substance, but just the way it's organized, is I added the additional members. You've agreed to have to make sure that there is at least one representative of care experienced person with disabilities or of the eligibility. I separated it from the geographical. So it's still part of the composition. And the reason for that, my thinking of that, is that it could be that a care experience leader with disabilities is identified by its region as or nominated or recruited from the region, but it could also be that that's not the case. So making sure that we separate that category. so that it's slightly different from the geographical criteria, if that makes sense. So I took it out from that list because it's not really geographical based. It's more in terms of other characteristic. So I put that separately. So that's one of the change. And if
Florence, I
Yeah.
just want to put one more point in this addition. Can we also urge to the council that we should also have like representation or the special provision for the care experienced youth without having any family support, or like kind of completely orphan, because it will be also said that our advocacy agenda to reform the existing care and also to create a support system for the care experienced youth without any family. I'm just putting this thought in front of the this discussion, and this will be really by number it is very less, but we should have this representation of this kind of background as well.
anyone has a thought on this? On Aditya's proposal?
I'm just trying to think through, Aditya, are you suggesting we add them in terms of membership or in the objective?
Question?
So it should have at least one member. Doesn't matter like how many you are coming, but at least they should have specific provision for the reservation or quota for this care experience without any family support or kind of totally orphan.
The only challenge, if I may, the only challenge I would have with that, Aditya, is, as you know, the word orphan is used in very different ways. So I definitely would not suggest, but also the lack of family support. I would expect it's a very common experience from a lot of care experience actors, but also those who have lacking family support. It could be a whole range of things. It could be their parents or relatives or grandparents and so on are alive, but are not communicating with them, or there could be history of violence, or there could be. So I'm just not entirely sure how you differentiate between care experience who have.
I'm talking in terms of many care experience without parental care are in the CCI since childhood, and they don't even know where they actually, which family or which ethnicity, which cultural, which social background they belongs to. And suddenly when they come out from the institutional care or in any other form of care, especially I'm talking about in terms of institutional care largely, so they are getting more struggle or more challenges to equip or collaborate or include in the part of this social structure or society in the mainstream of the society. So that's why I feel that there are more major concern with them than any other category of, along with this LGBTQ and disability. We are using this principle, so we should also consider that social participation. Yeah.
Like for them to become a different group, like the LGBTQ group kind of thing. Is that what I'm actually trying to understand the question? Is that what?
No, it's not about the different group. It's about how we are incorporating more voices of those who are most vulnerable. In terms of like when we are looking at the disability or LGBTQI, so similarly, can we also identify and give a more? That's a setting an agenda for the advocacy as well. To bringing a more participation of those who are most vulnerable in terms of lacking family, lacking existing support system in and out of the institutional care. I'm just putting this.
So I've just put a note there, Aditya. Maybe we could, so the suggestion, if I understand you correctly, is to add another category within that, not to add another member, because we agreed already in terms of numbers, but to add a category that would reflect care experience individuals who have no forms of family support of any kind.
Yes.
So maybe we can think of language, because my only worry about, I think that's an important point. My only worry about is that that's going to mean very different things for different people. So maybe we need to come up with a language that explains, that clarifies what we mean there. Because it could be because for a whole range of reasons, they've been institutionalized for a very long time, that they have never known their parents, or they have actually no knowledge of who their families are. Maybe they've been institutionalized since babyhood or early childhood, and they have no documentation. I mean, it could be a whole range of different situations, isn't it? But maybe we can come up with a way of explaining that, if members agree with the change.
But do they fall? The question: do they fall in any of the categories we listed? To talk about, when you talk about the vision of a role, what that these are care experience. Are they also part of care? Are they living in care actively, or they have left care? Because if they are living in care, whether actively or out of care, they still fall in these. They still fit this criteria we're talking about. Like we can add something, what we call criteria for selection for members. Of course, we have like A, what we have in parentheses. We can maybe come up with something to make sure it reflects that. But they are all part of that. We call them, these are very vulnerable populations dealing with here. But again, I agree. If just matter, it becomes very complicated because the definition will be very, very complex for different contexts of that, for what that means. No form of care.
You mentioned it, sorry, just to clarify, so you're talking about a member, so there would be a member of the council who is a person who is still in care?
Is that not factor anywhere in here? Is that
So
what
the
maybe
only
that can answer?
difficulty will be age, not that it's a difficulty, because as you know better than I, many young adults continue to be in care well past their. But age will be a factor.
Yeah.
Because there's a minimum age of 18. Yeah. So anyway, can we kind of try to clarify this? I think that's an important point, Aditya. Can we maybe try to come up with some language afterwards and see whether we can add this?
Yeah.
Aditya, what do you think?
Yeah, sure. We can come after the. I
So
just
maybe
thought to bring this for the discussion, so other council member also can. I mean, they can also get this point and aware about this issue.
Yeah. No, that's helpful. Thank you. So I've made a note of it, and maybe we can come up with some language.
Yeah, it's gonna be part of the definition of care experience person. Who is that? Do they fit that care experience definition? Like some of the grocery of terms.
Okay.
I just want one clarification. I think it has already been mentioned by Aditya or Nats, but maybe I did not understand it. So I'm just trying to understand again. So like in India, I know about India. So a lot of care leavers are being restored. They are being sent to their families if they have families, if they have anyone in the family.
Neela, I'm having difficulty hearing you. Can you speak closer to your mic?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Much better, much better.
Okay. So what I was saying is, so like in India, so I'm giving India's example because I know about India. So there are a lot of care leavers who are being restored to their families, who have got families, they're being sent to their families. So, but they do hold some experience with care because they were in care before going back to their families. So like we'll be rolling out these applications of USAID or Better Care Network to form another committee. Will they be allowed to participate in the committee? Or, I mean, I just wanted to know about that. Like they were in the care, but they have been restored now. They've been sent to their families. So will they be allowed to participate in the committee? Because they do have some experience because they were in the care earlier.
Sorry, I'm getting really confused because that is precisely what most of the members will be. Most of the members, like you are, have left care. You're no longer in care.
No, but I am not staying with my family. I moved out from care when I was 18 as per the government rules. That's when I moved out. But there are care leavers who are just 10, 12, or 15 years old, but they have got families, and the
Mhm.
organization found their families and they have restored them, right? But they do hold some experience with the care. So let's say tomorrow I come across any child who has been in the care for 10, 12 years, but now the person is staying with the family and the person is still just 17 or 18 and they want to be a part of this community or this particular committee. Can they apply? Can they be a part of this particular committee?
Not if they're
You're talking about
17.
you talk about the age limit criteria there, right?
No, it's not the
Possible to-
age. I just mentioned that was something like I was just trying to say it's not the age, but what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say is they are with the family now, but they were part
Mhm.
of care earlier
Yeah.
before being sent to their families. And let's
Mhm.
say tomorrow I am a part of any group and any care leaver comes up and says, okay, I'm staying with my family now, and I
Mhm.
would like to be a part of this committee. So can they apply for the application? Can they, be part of it?
I think maybe
Yeah,
Nilam,
I think, okay, sorry.
the response is more on the definition of a care leaver, and the global definition of a care leaver acknowledges that anyone who's spent part or the whole of their lives in care.
Yeah,
if they
this is what I
spend,
said. Like maybe I misunderstood initially. Okay, all right then.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
I mean,
If
Florence,
it's
if
already
you
been
go up,
incorporated, then it's fine. Yeah, sorry.
it is.
Go ahead.
Because if this is all part of the thing we are setting here. Because if we are going to go into nitty-gritty of everything, we're going to start getting ourselves into a lot of issues. Because
Yeah.
that's why from the vision statement, if you Florence, you scroll back up to the vision is already encompass everything we are saying, what this country is about. There, if you see there what to say, who are let's say down the vision there, you can see what it says, right? Where care experienced people are empowered and their voices are to uphold the rights of children, young, living alternative care, and people who have left care. So those who are living there actively who have left care. So as long as all the people we are dealing with, they fall in that category, whether their situation is more desperate, they have been, they have no parental care at all. They have no one, because the orphan is one single orphan or double orphan, whether they are both, they fall within that category state. And then when it comes to the specific, which is what qualifies somebody to be actively on the Global Council, which that age limit will be something like that. We can talk about for them to apply if we want them to be. But they can still belong, they are still benefiting from this because they are still part of they fall within that broader category of our vision, the people we are targeting, the people the group we are working with, something like that. So I think the what Aditya describing, I think they fall within that category as well. Except we want to
Yeah,
have
thank you,
them a little
Nabs.
bit
Yeah.
more stand up. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. So the understanding, of course, is that anyone who has had care experience, no matter who they live with, where they live
Yes.
with now, and so on, is entitled to be a committee member if they fit other
Yeah.
criteria. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, so for this, just to close this, we'll look at language to see whether we can try to address Aditya's suggestion to particularly look at those who are in the categories where they have had really no type of family support whatsoever, or no type of. So we can hopefully come up with some language that can address that. And here we go for the criteria of selection for the members. Again, this is language that you guys have proposed, discussed, both in Nairobi and after. So it goes to this question: members must have personal experience. We use the language growing up. I just wanted to ask whether you're happy with growing up, or you want talking about experience of living in alternative care, or growing up. Just to me, make it sound as if you have to have been there for a very long time, which perhaps goes to Nilam's comment here, but it's fine. If you're growing up, it's just a suggestion. We can retain growing up. Some people may have been placed in alternative care when they are already in their teens, in their mid-teens or later. So growing up, make it sound as if you've had to have been there as a young child and over a long period, versus you could have been there for 2 years. So that was one of my questions.
It is actually overlapping the definition of care experience youth, and especially when we are considering the care, this is a care leader council, so the age will come as a factor. So we should have this mind that it should be after age of 18.
Yeah, we've got that, Aditya. It's just next
Yeah.
to it. Here
Yeah.
I'm just asking about the word growing up. To have personal experience of growing up in the alternative care system
Yeah.
can be understood as you have to have been there since a child. And so I was thinking, if you say experience of living in the alternative care, it means that you could have been there for 1 year. You haven't had a.
Yeah, so I also be thinking about it when I look at it, because growing up, you're right. So if we can maybe tweak that growing up, because if we depending on how to want to call it growing up, like, some of us spend like 9 years, 10 years, that's really lived there as a child. But there are some people who only come there for call them interim home. They live there for like 3 weeks or for less than a month or for 1 month maximum, and then they still have care experience. So maybe whoever we can think about instead of growing up, we can think about something to say spend time in. After you spend time in that alternative care, whether you are in foster care, whatever, and they gave you your mom and dad were having serious health issues, but they took you and gave it to somebody else because until you are working on your parent to get better. So you spent only like 1 month without foster parent, and then later you came back to your real biological. So you see how you've lived with something or spent some time with. So I think we don't have to kind of specify the duration, how long. Then that becomes a little more complicated.
So I propose of living in the alternative care system. We can use another term. The one thing I would suggest, as we're going to run out of time if we go through every word and we have a lot to cover, is that if you can go back and say, yes, I agree with living in, or I have a better term, you can add it to the document. Would that work?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Just have a look at it, and if you've got another suggestion in terms of language to replace growing up, just add it to the box and we can finalize. Okay, the criteria for selection, again, the age of 18 and maturity. This was all language that was proposed and agreed. The fact that they need to be a current resident. Did you remember, this is all the discussions. I'm not going to go through all of that. This is all language that has been agreed. Eric, please.
Yeah, I was suggesting here on that term growing up.
Yeah.
Is it okay to, can you go back? Is it okay to, for example, members must have personal experience of living in alternative care system?
Yeah, that's language that I've proposed. That sounds great. If you see in the box, yeah.
Okay.
So you're covering of living. I'm just going to write it here. Yeah. Perfect. Can you see I'm making the notes next to it? Yeah. All right. Thank you, Eric. So these criteria are all criteria and language that you've developed, you've agreed, so we're not going to go through it. There was a question, and I think it was Simon who raised it, so I kept it there. There were 2 things that were added, and I remember Simon in the previous version of the tour had actually quite a while back had raised concerns about the requirement that members must have demonstrated ability to formulate policy, because it was a feeling that this would kind of require members to have experience that entails, having a lot of professional experience or having a high level of education. Not many people have the experience of developing policy or formulating policy. So I copied his comments, or I kind of rephrased his comments about this was a question whether this would be discriminatory or would be limiting in terms of member to require that they have been involved in policy making in particular, if I remember Simon's. And then the second one, it was proposed, I think maybe one of the small group, is that they must demonstrate strong and active online presence as a powerful tool. It was for advocacy and dissemination of relevant information. And I wanted to just clarify, in some ways, because in some cases, the members are going to have a lot of internet access and therefore will have more ease. And clearly having some level of internet access is desirable, because if a member doesn't have, but that making it a requirement that they're very active online or that they have may kind of limit the members who are working in areas where they don't have that much internet. So I asked the question here, could this be added as a desirable rather than requirement?
I think it should be desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it should be like a strong requirement because that can designate some members. I mean, again, we are trying to encourage people, not everybody with the same attribute. People are shy to be online. This is part of encouragement. Not people can have strong online presence. What does that even mean? Because I have the great skills. I have my experience. I have shared my experience maybe once or twice, but I'm trying to be encouraged to do more. But that doesn't mean I really hate being interviewed. I don't like being online on social. I don't like posting my videos, my story on Facebook. So I don't have strong online presence, but that doesn't mean I'm not contributing greatly to the cause. So something like that. I think we have people who are not just don't want to be, actively be online, and people having strong education experience, the G as well. There are people who have not having exposure to policies, but they know, again, just being part of that, be willing to even share your experience, not that you have idea how to develop a policy. I think those G and H could be like ideal. If you have them, it should be like a plus, but it should not be like a do or die requirement to be accepted.
Okay, what do others think? So to move both G
that's
and
what I'm
H
thinking. That's my
as
personal.
desirable rather than requirement. So instead of must have, we can use
Yeah.
language around making it desirable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, Florence.
Yeah,
Eric.
it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So these two will be desirable. I'm just changing language to make that. Whoops. Desirable, not required. Yeah, Eric, please.
Yeah, me, I was thinking is maybe we might, I don't know, if we say, for example, the requirement for somebody to be recruited, there is already an application form. Maybe on application form, somebody is required at least to put one account user for social media. You can say, for example, I use social media, Facebook under this name, maybe Instagram. Then put the email there. If somebody uses at least one social media and also have an email, it's at least a hint that this person is on internet and can be well communicated. So I'm not sure we put that, but that's my idea. On application form, let somebody put the name of his user account for one social media and the email, then that is the least, at least a person this time can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. So that's a great suggestion to put, this into the form, in which the person is going to be applying for this position. Great. I made a note of that. That's fantastic. So that's done. Roles and responsibility of council members. Again, there's nothing new there. This is the language that you've proposed. There was some duplication, I think. Yeah, that language was just repeating what was there above, so I took that out.
Yeah.
The question, I asked a question around contribute to agenda development, co-facilitation, attend the respective meeting designated by the council for decision-making. My only question there was, presumably the role and responsibilities to attend the meetings, whether it's for decision-making or not for decision-making, no? It was just a question, whether this made it too narrow, that they would only be required to attend meetings when decision-making was required.
No, I mean, is there not somewhere that says attend, how many amount of meetings, whatever the council decides on, this is, you have to, there are meetings scheduled how many times?
Yeah, there
should
is,
be
yeah.
meetings. Yeah,
So maybe we
should be
can,
there.
maybe we can delete for decision-making though, can we? They're supposed to attend the meeting designated by the council. It's just that the for decision-making here
Attend
seems
the
to narrow
meeting
it a little bit.
designated by the council for this. Yeah, I mean, that does, we can't take on the decision making. That doesn't, I mean, when every meeting you go, there must be a decision made or something. So
Yeah, it's just that it make it sounds, this is just wordsmithing, but it make it sound
narrow.
as if we're too narrow, yeah. Okay, so this is all language that you're going to be familiar with. This build partnerships with other actors in the sector representing the council in those discussions, including global and regional initiatives. This was left as a question mark in last draft to be decided. Are we all in agreement that this should be part of the roles and responsibilities?
Be partnership with other actors. I mean, yeah, I mean, what partnership mean? What level of partnership we're talking about, right?
In the terms of reference, you don't need to actually spell that out, but just the
Yeah.
question of, does that sound like the role or responsibility that members should be able to do? Are we in agreement?
I think so, Florence,
I
because
think so. I mean, that makes sense.
Okay. Just because there were some questions, I think, in the last draft. So everybody's okay with that? Once, twice?
Yeah, I think I'm
Fine.
okay.
I'm fine
Yeah.
with it.
We're like an
Yeah.
auction. Okay, excellent. So that's resolved. Now, council governance and structure. As you remember, there was a lot of discussion in Nairobi and some agreements. And NABS did fantastic job. Thank you, NAB. The addition, the proposal you added were really, really helpful in unpacking that. The question here is really critical, and it's maybe one that would require really a bit of discussion now with this group, is around both the name of that coordinators team, but also its function, because the way it's proposed in the language, and NAB, you can speak to that, but in the language that's that NAB proposed on that, is a team of 3 members that are acting as an executive team. Or as a leadership team, and the powers and roles and responsibility for this leadership team is quite different from the general membership. So it has quite a lot of implication for how the council works. And so I just wanted to be sure that all members had, you know, kind of thought through this, identified what makes sense. The one change, Nabs, that I suggested to your language is there was a bit of confusion when I read it about whether the coordinators team or leadership or executive team are also made up of members, because the general membership includes those who are going to be selected at coordinators team. So I just want to be clarified that the coordinators team is not made from people who are non-members, but it's made of people who are first and foremost members of the Care Leaders Council and that are selected by their peers to become the coordinators team. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's right. No, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
right.
They are 3 members and then 13 members, general members. So they are all part of the 16.
Perfect.
They all make up of the 16. They are not different people coming.
Excellent.
I mean, some of their roles there, again, I was talking to Grace because when she asked me to just work on structure or kind of thing, there was not like specific, just I think, okay, how do they get elected? What does that mean? So I ended up looking at what Nairobi we discussed in Nairobi, trying to fine tune a little bit. But again, some of these things, everything can be changed. But so yeah, their roles might be a little bit different because they are kind of playing leadership role to take some responsibility to know, okay, they are bringing the team on board, but this is purely, they have to look at everything with a collaborative effort, that this is radical collaboration, and we are working together, but they just get to call the shots out in time to make sure, you know, we are not stuck. The committee something is happening. We are moving. We are meeting our deadlines. We are, you know, somebody is pushing the boat. Otherwise, we all get stuck. We'll be seeing that happening. So that's just kind of form of a leadership. But if we go through some of their responsibilities and what qualifies them to be, then maybe we all can agree, okay, yes, no, let's take that out. Or yeah, I think we can redefine that. It's fine. Again, I did some of these things on a plane traveling, so I may have been sleeping.
No, it's really helpful. So I've just added the word team to be clear that they operate as a team. And then we can decide we're happy with the coordinates team, executive. So executive team, the only question there is, and as you said, we're going to go into their powers and rights and responsibility, because the executive implies a level of decision making that these three coordinator will be able to take without the agreement of other members. So it's important to be clear on the language. So they are appointed by a simple majority of the members. The appointment of the coordinators, and this is something that I added, actually I should have done that in track, apologies about that, which is just to be clear as well that in the appointment of the coordinator, it's important to take in consideration representation. So that, you know, for example, you don't have three coordinators who all happen to come from the same region, because that might be seen as an issue by, you know, those who are not represented by the coordinators team. So just taking into consideration, it's not a requirement. And these are the roles and responsibilities of the team: to organize and facilitate meetings, to take the lead on developing, drafting agendas, to handle documentation and communication. Now, in there was the recruitment of new members. This is something that's to be discussed. We'll discuss, because this is one of the key things that remains to be discussed. How are new members recruited? And so in this case, the coordination team is responsible for the organization of these members. So once we finalize that, that will be amended. Take the lead in developing yearly activity plan, managing healthy communication, administering and distributing resource, holding executive. So this is where you know, again, the question of what are the decisions that can be made by this coordination team, and what are the decisions that require the full council members to participate, is one thing that I think needs to be further defined.
Agreed.
And then the general membership, the remaining 13 members, we may not have to need to put the number there, because that could evolve. So my suggestion would be probably
members.
Yeah, the remaining members. My suggestion would probably not to put the numbers here. Responsible for representing their region, sharing their concerns. So there's ways to the executive to address those concerns. Fully participate in promoting the agenda, participate in nominating new vote. And then all other role. I mean, the only thing I would say is that probably this could be further strengthen the responsibilities of the general membership, although it is the reason I took these out is these are really more about the responsibility that we have above. They're more about the content that all members, as opposed to, you know, the kind of operational requirements, such as attending meetings, contributing to drafting and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. So all of that, the only reason I took them out, they're there, but they're above in the roles and responsibilities of members of the council. So this is more the kind of operational aspect, if that makes sense. So they haven't been taken out, it's just that they're above. The advisory group, this is again what you've drafted, which is based from the discussion in Nairobi. There was language that said BCN and USAID, and I took that out purely to say, you know, you don't need to mention who the members are, because that's going to change, as you pointed out. So in the advisory group, so instead of mentioning USAID and BCN, it's to say these are the type of members that would be in the advisory group. And so instead, it's the membership of the advisory will depend on which organization are funding, advising the council at a given time. So that will change. The only little cheeky things that I said is it does seem to me that, but we'll see later, that the advisory group has a lot of roles and responsibilities. We'll get to that. There was a little bit of unclear, you know, it could do with a bit more clarification, provide suggestion on how to expand the influence of the council and spread awareness. And I asked, spread awareness of what? Do we want to clarify? That's a bit vague.
Awareness of the existence of the council, awareness of the the work of the council and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Because because
Okay.
they have all the connections, so that could be a part of the existence of the council, the role of the council. So to these other
Perfect.
contributors and stuff.
Any other thoughts? Please add them into the document in terms of we don't need much, but just to clarify what awareness of what. Okay. Excellent. So I think all of that is pretty clear. Again, make sure that you've read them and that you're happy with them, yeah? Because this is going to be the final draft. And of course, the council next year may decide to revise this. There's no
Change
end.
everything.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully not everything, because it's taken a while to get there. The alumni group, again, I think it's fairly clear. Yeah, Aditya, I actually added this, and you're right, it's not very clear. The reason I added this is I had a question. If you are part of the alumni group, do you always have to be part of the alumni group? Or can you decide no longer to be part of that group? And I guess the question is, what does being part of the alumni group mean? If it just means that it's an honorific thing, it's a recognition of that you have been part of the council, and it doesn't entail.
It's not a formal group. No,
Then that's fine. Then we don't need that. If the alumni group is going to be given more formal responsibilities, then some members might say, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
So that's why I added that.
Yeah, and when we talk about it, I put it that it's not a formal, it should not be a formal group, and their role is kind of volunteer. Like you can call who are leaving the council after this meeting today, like next year, to say, hey, we need you to come attend this meeting to just talk about this, because we think you have expertise in the area, and then it will be up to me to say, I don't really think I can, but maybe I'll send you a note or something. So they are not compulsory. They are not like they have to attend there, because they are not even getting. They are not a formal group. It's not a formal group. That's what I'm thinking. But except if the next council want to make them formal, then they start getting into some tough time.
Okay, so if that's the case, we may not need this. Yeah? Shall I just delete that? Aditya made the point that it's not clarifying things.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so let's delete that. That's fine. We don't need that. Okay. So, recruitment and termination of members of the council. Members are recruited by nomination and interviews. So there, my question was, what does it mean by nomination? In other words, nomination by whom? Is there a process to advertise the opportunity for qualified candidates to apply? Or is it just that the current members are going to reach out to people they know and propose their nomination? Bearing in mind that the council needs to grow, members also do need to have experience working with national and regional networks. It's important
they should have some presence in the ground, and they should demonstrate some kind of work.
Definitely.
Also for the council, it should have also some milestone, some vision to achieve that. We need some forces, like those who are already doing something, so they can also be part of, and they can represent, and they can share their experience and also exchange that. So that's kind of visioning need to be happen.
I think that's definitely clear from the criteria for membership. The question is, how do you recruit them? Is this going to be a process that's going to be open, like you were? There was a call for members. You went through a recruitment process to be members of the council. Is this council going to continue with this? Is there going to be a process to call on qualified individuals to apply to be members of the council? Is it going to be an open, transparent process, or is it going to be a process of nomination by existing members?
I think, Florence, it should be open and transparent. As long as with the outline, we already know which membership we need to fill. So in the advertisement, it will already be clear we need a member from this region who meets these criteria. I think that can be is what I had in mind here. I don't know
Yeah,
if
because if we look at the tenure, when is, your time is expiring, you've been there now for, like, say, 2 years, your time is expiring next year, and the council knows that, and there's the coordination team, they know that. So coming to you to have been from that region, okay, 2 of you are leaving the council by next year because you've been there already for the tenure of time. So is part of the council going to agree? Are they going to ask those 2 people who are leaving to nominate other 2 people from the same region but from different countries other than their own? And then those people, they can be sent to the application for them to apply, and based on the way they have been working with them, because those people who are living by according to their role, they must have been working with the other countries, other care leavers in that region, but right, they know them, they who are interested, who might be able to do something. I don't know. But are they the ones making the nomination to say, hey, I'm leaving, but I'm nominating somebody from Liberia who maybe can apply, or application may be sent, and then they send it to different countries in their region so that they can apply, so people can apply from that region, something like that. So that's why I didn't go deeper into that, because I wanted to make sure that becomes the decision of the council going forward, to know how do we want to get members, because they're going to start recruiting members soon. How are we going to get new members? We who are leaving, are we allowed to nominate people? Is NABS allowed to nominate somebody from West Africa region, or Deborah allowed to nominate somebody from West Africa region other than Ghana and Sierra Leone? Then recommend them to the council. Then the council can work with them to apply. I don't know. So
I think there's 2 different things, though, Nabs, isn't there? One of which is to members, identifying, what you call by nominating, identifying potential new members. But nominating can also be a decision. And I think the question is, if members make decision about who's going to replace them, there are 2 problems that I can see. One, it's going to be a council that's made of people who know one another only. It's not going to be a very transparent way of recruiting members, or very representative. 2, it's going to be, it's likely to be members from networks of countries where there are already relationship between them, and so on. And so for countries that have new care leavers network, or that are not so well known to the members, they won't get an opportunity to be selected. So I think that's what needs to be clarified.
I agree.
I think
Eric,
Another
way can be talking about.
Okay. My idea is whether any person from the already existing members can nominate. It should be a personal recommendation. But I believe for me, it's better if it is open. But as it is open, me inside I can say, brother from Burundi, there is already an opportunity to serve in care council. So here is the link, you can apply. Then, because at the end of the day, it is criteria that matters. Whoever, wherever, how he come, how he joined how he joined the application, still he has to be to fulfill a requirement. He has to complete the criteria. It has to be competitive according to the requirement. So it can be as open as possible, but the existing members can let those whom they know that here there is an opportunity to serve in the care. And here is the link. Can you try your chance? I believe that can be good for me.
Yeah, I think that can work too. I think that's nice too. I mean, recommendation are welcome, but like application, it's what maybe the legal way to go. They send an application, everybody has to apply, and again, then we'll go to the criteria to make sure you're not getting 2 people from the same, country. But existing members who are outgoing members are welcome to recommendation, but there are no guarantees that their recommended people will be accepted. So that have to be made clear, so they know there will be no bad feelings.
Right. So I've tried to capture what Eric has said. Sorry, just to say that I've tried to capture it. I think that will need to be clarified in that language, because right now it's not. Elvis, I think you've got your hand up. Oh no, you're trying to enter the room. Sorry. I see Elvis has been kicked out. Anyone else wants to comment on this? Okay, great. So I think we've got clarification. We'll need to, I can suggest, you can suggest some language just to be clear that what we're saying align with what has just been discussed. Okay. So there will be, because right now the language here says each union representative is required to send in 2 potential replacement. So it sounds as if members stepping out are basically appointing their replacement. And so what we've just discussed is that, no,
Yeah,
they
can
can make
change that.
recommendation. Okay. So they
Mhm,
can make
yeah.
recommendation, they can encourage people to apply, they can, give reference to this person, but they're not deciding who's going to be replacing
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
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 Okay.
So that
So we'll
all
have to change
that
that
changes
language.
everything a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. And then, okay, so that's good. Selection and appointment of the members of the coordinators team. Now that's quite an important section, which I really hope members
Yes.
can put their head, because it is about determining what that leadership team or that executive team or that coordinator team is going to be doing, and what powers they will have and how they're going to be appointed. So they're going to be
Yeah.
elected by the members of the council, 3 members.
Mhm.
Presumably, they're going to be submitting their candidature. We might want to explain how they're going to do that. We don't have to get into a lot of detail now, but so members of the council are going to put their hand up and saying, I want to be a member of the coordinators team. And then there's going to be an application process, presumably, and a selection process.
Yeah.
to be
All of
elected.
these should have like I forgot to add it, but should have like document like we should make reference to, that's later based with reference to the executive team manual. What about selection? That should be in that step by step how this is done. The same 2 members.
Yeah.
That should be like a separate document that will be all together. This is part of the bylaw they can refer to, which is people can go and know
Yeah.
these are the step by step how we do this. This is the process. Because when there's no process, there's chaos. So
Yeah.
that should be, yeah.
So, maybe just clarify a little bit in there that there's a process whereby the members who are volunteering to be members of the coordinators team explain why they should be selected, what their interests are, or something like that, some kind of application, yeah, for members to make that decision when they vote. There needs to be some kind of submission of candidature, yeah, through a process. Does that make sense? So maybe just clarify this a little bit more. It doesn't have to be all details, but just to be clear. So the applicants must have been a general member of the council for 1 year. I don't think we need to say general, but yes. They must have been an active member of the council and have entered at least 3 quarterly meetings. I have to say that seemed to be a pretty low threshold for being selected as a
Yes,
leader
again.
to me. So I would,
Yeah. Again, that could be changed.
I would urge that somebody who wants to be a coordinator of the council must have demonstrated, more than just attended 3 meetings.
Mhm.
Maybe a bit stronger, because it does require, as you know, because many of you have done it, it requires a significant commitment of time and leadership. Proposed members' region must not have been represented in the coordinators team in the previous year. I think it's a good idea. I'm not sure how practical that is, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, so they must submit their names. Presumably, again, beyond their names, they should probably submit some kind of statement.
Why they want to be
Statement of
leader.
candidate, yeah. It's as to why,
Well,
statement of candidacy. As to why they feel that they are the right person to do this and what their vision is, okay?
We'll not have political debate though. No debate. No worries.
You see, there we've got like so many different, so I think we need to agree on the language because we keep calling things differently. So, well, actually, I'm just putting a note. Okay. And then the 3 members with the most votes will be elected. Okay, and they're going to be serving for 1 year. Okay, so that's for the Executive Council. If you have any comments, any thoughts and so on, please do this because we're finalizing this. So it's really important to make sure that this is clear and aligned with your thinking. Okay, termination of membership. Now we're talking about members more generally here. So members' term on the council will end after they have served 2 years, 24 months. A member's term of the council may be terminated early in the circumstances of death. Maybe we need to put illness potentially, or maybe that's just resignation. So death, resignation, expulsion. The executive team.
Well, don't pass illness, Florence. Maybe in case somebody is critically ill, they don't really want to resign, but they are really ill, they are not functioning, they are not really doing anything anymore. Just a critical illness that will really prevent you from performing any task for like, you know, you can say, okay, I'm sick for like a year, maybe 3 months, maybe, but after 6 months, 1 year, you're still very sick, you can't attend meeting, you can't do any of that. Are you still going to be on the council or in your own safety? So some of those things need to be clarified a bit. So,
okay. So potentially critical illness as well.
Mm-hmm.
The executive team, which is really the coordinates team, should have the power by unanimous votes to expel any member of the council if that member has been found to be inactive or has conducted himself or herself in a way that has adversely affected the reputation or dignity of the council. So my comment there is it'd be important to clarify what this means and who determines and how that this has happened.
Yeah.
Which is
and
linked
that
to
is where another, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where, sorry, I forgot to add, that's what another document should be. That's a disciplinary matrix or whatever you call it. That should be like fighting, like, you know, if somebody's really not respectful, go to meet somebody want to hit the other person or fighting or using bad words against that person. So some of those things that are not really promote any teamwork or team spirit. It's not right. So what qualifies somebody to be say, oh, you know what, we can't really tolerate this, but we have to get a document that show like maybe the disciplinary matrix that highlights some of these things in there to say, here are behaviors that we are going to see to be not acceptable, not tolerated for this group to grow. We can't accept these behaviors. If you perform these, you are going to be eliminated. So again, there should be a document that has like a matrix, a display matrix or something, code of conduct, call it code of conduct.
Yeah. I agree with you now. I was thinking of the code of conduct that not to be put here, but you can just mention it that if you go against our code of conduct, then you have affected the council's reputation.
Yeah. So the ways of the working values and principle of the council, which will have to be drafted. Yeah. Everybody is in agreement with this. I'm not sure that has been discussed much. I just want to make sure that. And for a member to be expelled from the membership is a 2/3 majority of the members vote for their removal. So in this case, it's a bit confusing. Like the executive team has the power to, on its own, to expel a member, but also the general membership has the power to expel a member if they have 2/3 majority. So regardless of the executive team,
Yeah, regardless of the executive, because the executive will actually no, we are not going to be, but the rest of the council, they are 13. No, this is really, really bad. I think we have to. So if like majority of the people, I mean, you are working for the council as a coordinator, you are the leader there. So, you know, at some point you have to listen to what the council, you always have to listen. If the council says this is really wrong, they are all voting against it, you know, even though you are the leader there, you can't, because it's going to damage your whole thing.
Okay.
So they also have right to participate in that process.
Okay. Then there's a section I'm not proposing to go through in detail because we are going to run out of time, but around meetings, annual count, different types of meeting nabs. You propose different types of formal meetings like the annual review. At the same time, there's a quarterly council meeting. My only worry with this section, which I make here, which is it's all about the high level meetings, but how is the work of the council going to happen beyond those meetings? Because as you know from the experience, quarterly meetings is fairly limited in terms of being able to actually deliver on all the objectives that you've identified for the council. So you probably are going to need to work in in subgroups or working groups. There's going to be a need for working meetings beyond
Yeah,
the quarterly
mean,
meeting?
Yeah. I mean, again, these are just like what are some general meetings, like we're talking about when do they review the whole terms of reference again and see the rules, the code of conduct, all of those things. Can be one annual meeting where all of those things are happening, or like get new members on board, get members out, or there should be like specific quarterly meeting every quarter, or there should be like every bi-monthly meeting or something like that. But how the council will be working internally, that's something else will be determined again by the ongoing council to say, okay, we are going to be meeting, every other month or something to go through this. And then within that, we're going to divide into subgroups, and those subgroups are supposed to be meeting once a month, to discuss on the project they are working on, so they can make presentation. Everything should sync up to those general meetings. But other meetings, of course, that's how the work get done.
So maybe we can expand a little bit on that other meeting section to talk about working meetings, subgroups, task forces, or carry out the work, without getting into much detail, but maybe to expand a little bit. Okay. Again, I apologize if I'm going through fast, but we have a lot to cover and we're running out of time. I've added some language on the compensation and stipend. I've used the basis in which we have at the moment, more or less. This is the language that was in the previous agreement, but the one thing I've suggested is that the coordinator, the members of the executive team or the coordination team, or whatever we decide to call it, are receiving a higher level of honorarium than the members. And the reason for that, obviously, is that they are actually doing more work than the members. But I wondered what members thought.
Who, the coordinators?
So that the coordinators would get a higher level of honorarium than the general members. The stipend would be the same, but that the honorarium would be higher because they are taking on more tasks.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, more responsibility, that encourages more commitment. And I think I think I'm for it. I mean, again, I'm not continuing the council, but people who are continuing, I think it's a good idea to have, but depends. Okay.
Any other thoughts on that? I added as well the fact that, of course, the council can decide to review and revise the level and appropriateness of the stipend once a year, take into account the level of work, engagement, and availability of budget. So this isn't, set in stone. It is for now in terms of budget available, but it could change. It could be higher. It could be.
I think it looks good, Florence.
Okay.
I'm good at it.
I just want to highlight the point in hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Aditya.
Florence, can we also keep in mind that we can incorporate the inflation rate as well? I mean, while doing, because when we are submitting project or proposal, we should always keep in mind that there should have some inflation rate. So same time, like somewhere it has to mention inflation rate with this compensation.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be availability depend on the availability of budget, but that's a good point. We can add that. Yeah. This is section on funding and sustainability. There was some suggestion, but there wasn't really any language proposed, and it wasn't very clear. So what I would suggest is that to have some general language about fundraising here at this stage, to ensure the sustainability and various roles and responsibilities. But I would right now that list doesn't really explain very much. Would you be okay if we drafted some general language saying that part of the task of the advisory council, of the leadership, and of the members is to identify funding opportunities and so on, which we have above in the responsibilities anyway. Thanks,
I think
Nabs.
maybe in this section, Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Mostly it was for this section, it was only to just think through the different streams of funding or sustainability that the council can have. So that's why we had these suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can
Which I
mark
think
on
we
the
can
line.
put as examples, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. And then this section, I'm not sure who added this because it was it came in like this.
Yeah, yeah. So it was during my conversation with Aditya.
Okay, great. So this is
Yeah,
where, I mean,
actually,
please go ahead.
it was discussed during our meeting in Nairobi, but
Yeah.
this point was nowhere came. And it is to, sustain or to run the council smoothly or to maintain the some like value-based work while working with the council.
I think that's really important. And yes, it was discussed, including after Nairobi. Is it one suggestion here would be to have a section that talks about how the council is going to be developing its principle and values. So it doesn't need to be in the terms of reference, but that
Yes.
these principles and values are going to be developed and that they're going to be the kind of founding stone of the way the council operates. And they can be reviewed. And then that would be one of the first tasks, I think, for the council next year to really dig down and develop those, including, I remember from the meeting after Nairobi, the suggestions were to make sure that there are policies on things like harassment and safeguarding and stuff like that. Yeah.
True.
Okay, so maybe here we can have this, but in a paragraph that talks about the development of those guiding principle. They don't need to be, and the role they play. And then next year, that could be one of the first tasks as well of the new council. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
But somewhere, I mean, when we are okay, got it. It can be clubbed into that main document. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be there, but the details of what's in that will be then developed into its own document. Anything else in terms of terms of reference to enable us to finalize this and move on? I think we've already gone through a lot, and it's really almost there. Anything that you think is really missing or not clear?
And I was just wondering the point about documentation, or when we are transitioning from one tenure to another, but somewhere we need to mention the point for the transitioning or handover process. Because this has to be somewhere located, or so that upcoming or new member can also go through with that same document, and it will adding point rather than again creating new orientation, etc.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. Makes sense.
And
And again,
also, for the council, are we thinking to have a process for the kind of assessment or the evaluation? I'm not saying that, but as a council, are we thinking to have this kind of processes in our activity or council, TOR, where on the basis also we can see that, how we can develop the capacity or how we can actually transform within the council.
Yeah. In the quarterly council meeting, NABS added evaluate activities and progress, which I guess would come to your point
Yeah.
of the council having to evaluate and shorten its
also planning.
activities. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Sorry, I'm not seeing you, which makes it difficult. Let me stop sharing. Any other comments? For those of you who haven't spoken. So I think this is really advanced now. And with your final comments, we can do some of this final revision. I would ask after this meeting, you go through it. If there's anything that you've identified, you have a question. Again, not on things that have already been agreed, but on things that where there remains some lack of clarity, please add some suggestion in the documents. And then we can finalize, clean up that document and finalize it. So it can be used for the next step, next year of the council. Are we losing people? I'm seeing people dropping out. I think Nilam has just dropped out. We lost Mai as well.
Nilam came back in. I think she just got disconnected, but she came back in.
Yeah, I see that. Did we lose Mai?
Yeah, we did.
We lost Mai. So if there are any other suggestion, comments, so we can finalize this, please make them in the document. And the aim will be to clean up that document and have a final version that can be adopted and used by the council. Here's Mai coming back. Thank you for that. Now, Grace, do we want to talk about the recruitment of the new member, the process, and the membership?
Sure. Thank you, Florence, for taking us through the TOR, and thank you all for at least we've been able to move a step ahead with it. Now we can confidently say that as we hand it over to the next phase, we did our best part. So I'd request Margot to help in sharing with the screen on the document. I don't know if we go through the membership.
Okay, you want the table?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Because the other item on the agenda is now for us to think through our next phase in terms of membership and to know who will be in the council and how many new members we need to recruit. So I wanted us to go through the current status and then having in mind the criteria that we just have put in place in the TOR, think through it and see in the council, so who's going to remain, who are we going to add? So maybe if you can make it a bit bigger, friends. Yeah.
Okay. This is on the left, the members' representation that has been agreed in terms of numbers and region. Go ahead, Grace.
Yeah, so from the table, we just have an outline of currently the members we had suggested, and then the current members who are there, the members who want to step down in 2023, And then how many members in each region, we'll need to recruit them, who will also join in the alumni group. So first of all, before we even decide on who will not longer be in the council, I wanted us to think through of also the continuity, because in the council we wanted to have the existing members continue serving for the purpose of continuity. And so as we will be recruiting new members, we have people from the other phases who will be able to take through the other new members and carry the vision of the council as we had intended it to be. So from the general analysis, as you can see in Southern Asia, we have Nilam and Aditya, and we still need two members from them. So to some extent in Southern Asia, both of you, I think you meet the criteria. So it's upon you to just decide. You can continue serving as with the aim of continuing the membership for the next phase. For the Southern Eastern Asia, we had Sinet, but Sinet currently has been unwell and has not been able to participate. So for that region, we still need two new members. We still need two members, but we can determine if we add one additional members as we check with Sinet if she'll be able to continue with the council. Then for the Latin America and the Caribbean, from the TOR, we had suggested we add two members. Currently, we have Michael. And for Michael also, you can decide to continue. He can decide to continue his membership as one of the people to represent Latin America, but also have a new additional member from that region. For East Africa...
Grace, sorry, just to add, sorry to interrupt you, Grace, but just to add, the members do need to ensure that they meet the criteria. So
yes.
It's really important that beyond the question of whether you want to continue or not, whether you are meeting the criteria.
Definitely, for sure. So if you scroll below, for the East Africa is where we had great representation, and we had, in total, we were, I think, 7 of us, but currently 2 resigned. So we are remaining with 5, and we intend to have 2 members from East Africa. So we hope that the 3 will be able to step down, and then we have a representation of 2 members from East Africa. As for Southern Africa, we had Gift. So if Gift decides to continue, depending on the criteria on the TOR, we can have him on board, but still add another person. And then for West and Central Africa, this is where we had Deborah and Nabs and Elvis. So depending on the criteria, I think currently for Nabs and Deborah, I understand you out of the country, and based on the criteria, you might no longer continue serving. So in this scenario, we might need generally new members to represent this region. So based on the criteria, then we decide on the region and know that in this region, we totally need new members, or we ought to add. Then below we have Europe and Central Asia, whereby we had Andres, but Andres resigned. So currently we have openings of 2 new members. And we recently also added the region of Middle East and North Africa, whereby we also need 2 new members. No, actually one member. And then in the representation of the special category, either people with living a disability or LGBTQI. So this is the whole current situation. And as of today, we wanted to understand based on the criteria, so that you have an understanding whereby in Southern Asia, both Nilam and Aditya can looking at the criteria, suggest if you ought to continue or decide to join the alumni group. So I don't know.
No, I
Adicheng.
actually told that. Yeah, sorry, I'm just stepping on. I told
Yes.
that after forming a new council,
Mhm.
I will be there to, steering or to support the council till I feel, I mean, as a next cycle. And because I really want
Mhm.
to gear up this council. So I really want
Yeah.
to, I mean, I don't know, like it will be for 2 years, but at least for 1 year, I will continue. And irrespective of
Okay.
whether stipend or this thing, but I really want to be there. And then transitioning while, like, inviting or bringing new people or new, because that's what also I was telling during the last meeting, that I'm in the contact with some South Asian other countries apart from India, because me and Nilam are representing only from India, but there should have some representative of
Mhm.
other country. And so can we also bring some other country representative as well? So in that process, I'm there. So I don't know how it can be
Mhm.
defined that I will leave by the December 23. But yeah, I'm still there.
Sorry, Aditya, can I clarify? Because I'm getting confused, because you had said you were stepping down at the end of
Yeah,
this
yeah,
year.
I'm stepping down with the when the new member assign.
Which is the new members are going to be recruited in early 2024.
Yeah. Then yeah, then surely I will. I mean, if you found that, then definitely. And because I really want to have some representation from the South Asia,
Mhm.
in not just like, like in other scenario, I find that the people who have stepped down thereafter note their engagement or discussion. But I
Mhm.
want to have that organic process, whether while leaving the I mean, leaving the system or the council, it should have some handholding or kind of adequate transition or adequate what we call the handover process. In
Mhm.
that terms, I want to be remain. Yeah.
Okay. So if I get you clearly, Aditya, are you open to continuing serving in the council for another year?
Yes.
Sorry, just to be clear on this, because that's really getting to the crux of it. If you're going to serve another year, that means that no new member can be appointed to the council
No,
per
no.
year.
Hold on. So okay, then I will be a part of alumni group, right? Sorry, I misunderstood that. Yeah.
So that's the
Maybe.
difference. We're talking about the
Mm.
future. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Can I say something? If we
Yes,
have
please.
time, I will just take a minute. I just wanted to say, like, since Aditya is involved with a lot of advocacy work and policy making work, so I think he should remain part of the team, part of the committee, and I am okay to step down. I am just saying this because he
No,
brings a lot of value to the committee, as he's like he has first-hand experience of development work and everything. I mean, I have experience because I have lived in care, but after living in care, he's also involved in that work. He's doing it professionally. So, yeah, which is why I'm
no, but
just adding this
I
point.
think Nilam, you can also think about this. Why I'm stepping down, there is also reason that we want. I mean, it's not just about holding the position, but also bringing new people and other region or other countries representation. So in
So
that regard,
maybe, yeah, in that
yeah,
regard also, as we try to think through bringing on new representation, we still need current members to continue in terms of continuation,
yeah,
a few members to still remain. So in South Asia, we would like one of you to still continue serving as maybe one or both as we think through adding another member. So
I think just to say, Grace, if it's both, we're going to have 2 members from India, which is a violation of the terms that you've just agreed.
yeah.
So there
Yeah.
needs to be, if there's going to be
One.
one that
Yeah, one.
remains, another one
Mm.
needs to step down.
Okay.
And
Fine.
again, this is where it's important for Aditya to be clear and for all members to be clear, is that you continuing is based on meeting the criteria, but also this question of representation, yeah, of having the links to the national, to the regional networks, and being located in the country where those networks are operating, etc. So it's really important to take that into consideration.
So why don't I do this, Florence? For Nilam and Aditya, you'll have a conversation and then go through the criteria, and then both of you can send the name of which you suggest to have continuation in the council. Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah, we can do that. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you.
Thank
For
you, guys.
Southeastern Asia, we had CNET, but CNET currently has not been active. So I don't know what members suggest on this. Definitely we need a new member for them to be 2. Yeah.
And we
What do
can have
people
the
think?
discussion with Sinet to also ask her whether someone else from the Cambodia network could join, or
Join.
whether she wants to continue.
Okay, okay. Thank you. So we'll follow up with that. And then for Latin America, we have Michael as the only member. So Michael can continue if he meets the criteria. And then we have another new member to represent the Latin America or the Caribbean from a different country. Apparently, Michael is not here, so we know that it's open for us to have another new member in that area. Then over to East Africa. Africa is where we have a lot of representation. And here we have 5 of us present. So Eric, Samora, Ruth, and I. And we ought to step down so that we have 2 members present. Yes, so we had 2 who had resigned earlier. So yeah, Eric, Mai, and I.
Grace, just
What do you
because we're running out of time.
Yep.
Because we're coming to the end of our 2 hours, aren't we?
Yeah.
I would suggest that you have this discussion with your colleague. Bear in mind that some of the members in that group may not be fitting the criteria anymore. And so they would have to step down. And then for
Okay.
those who continue, I would ask that you're having this conversation and that you identify how to proceed on that, bearing in mind that the aim is to really support the council next year to come in with greater representation.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because otherwise we're not going to be able to do
Yeah,
that in 4 minutes.
Yeah. So that one definitely will speak over with Mai and Eric and the other members. Then Southern Africa, we had Gift. I see Gift will be stepping down, so we'll need to recruit 2 new members for Southern Africa, West Africa, Deborah, Nabs, and Elvis. Then Deborah and Nabs will be stepping down, already indicated. So we'll determine if we need still 2 new members. Elvis will need to respond to this, based also on the criteria, if you still fit into the criteria, or we still need to recruit 2 new members. Then Europe and Central Asia as well, we still need 2 new members, as Andrea's already resigned. Same to the Middle East and North Africa. So generally, from this, I think Nilam and Aditya will discuss and share the name they've agreed to, and also for us in the East Africa, we'll decide on that. And then for Deborah, for Elvis, you'll also respond and let us know where you stand so that you're able to know the number of openings of new recruitments we have. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say on this.
Just to clarify that the aim of recruiting new members will be in early January, with the hope that we actually have new members starting as early as possible in the new year. So we need decision on this, because currently, in terms of the council and the funding that's available, we have another year. The council is going to need to be able to work and demonstrate its role, its mandate, and so on, in terms of its activities and so on. So we can also identify further funding for the years after that. And so it's really important that next year the council is able to fully operate and not just discuss how it's going to transition. Because we've spent a year now doing that, and out of 2 years that are funded. And without that, it's going to be very difficult to go to donors and advocate for further funding for the council, unless it can demonstrate its role and its mandate. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Just checking to share. Does that make sense,
So
colleagues? Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you
it does.
suggesting-
It makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Florence, were you suggesting, in terms of us now thinking through the timelines of the next phase and how soon we need to recruit?
I would recommend that in January, when we come back, that first of all, we've cleaned up and finalized in terms of reference, that we have articulated the process, which we've already got some clarity on the recruitment. We've identified the number of members that need to be recruited. We're going to need to go through where there's a disagreement among members within the region, have a process to identify, first of all, whether the members meet the criteria and how to make the decision. And then the aim for the timeline would be, I would think that by February, we have a process where we can advertise for the new members. Because if we advertise in February, we can do the process of selection, meaning March, they'll be able to start.
Okay.
Which I would suggest would be the latest, to really enable the new council to start getting into its business.
Sure.
I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think definitely after we'll get feedback on who will remain based on the criteria, then that team will meet in January. And then in January, we discuss now the recruitment process and send out the advertisement, probably in Feb. And then in March, we have the new team probably joining us, and then we get started and be able to at least keep the gear moving for the next year. Okay, yeah. What do the rest think? Always Eric, Nilamai, Deborah.
Yeah, I think yes, it sounds good. Sounds good.
Right. Thank you all. Just want to thank you for all of your contribution, your work in getting these terms of reference developed and getting this new council taking shape.
Yeah.
And
So I'm
also,
trying, for the interest of time also, you know, we come to 2 minutes past the grid time. So I wanted us to check maybe we've been able to cover most of what we had intended to do, gone through the TOR and also the membership. So we'll be waiting forward on the feedback from members on that, and even come up with an action plan of the next steps. So yeah, I just want to thank you all for being present in this call and for your continued support in ensuring that the council is actually able to work towards its main vision that we intended to through our meeting in Nairobi. So thank you all for joining this call, and yeah, I think call it the end of our call today, unless anyone has anything to say. Otherwise, yeah.
Just wishing you wonderful holidays if you are going to take
Ah.
some holiday time.
Yeah, happy holidays for
Thank you. Happy holidays.
yeah.
Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays,
Thank you,
everyone.
Grace.
Stay safe.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Grace,
Take
for
care.
coordinating.
Bye. See you next year.
Thank you, Aditya. Okay, bye.
Bye,
Bye.
Grace.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you for your leadership.